Hey, good morning, Pete, North Las Vegas. Just doing a video here on an upcoming project that I'm going to do. So I thought we'd talk about the project a little bit, and then we're going to take a closer look at this SOCOM barrel that I got from Brownells. We'll borescope it and check it out. But the first thing I want to talk about was the M4A1 that I'm planning on putting together. And I've been doing a lot of research, and I've been watching videos, especially the SOP mod variants, the block 1, the block 1.5, the block 2. And I've decided that I don't want to blow my budget trying to clone one of those. So I'm looking around online and I'm trying to figure out what the actual M4A1 carbine was originally configured, and I thought we'll do that. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've decided that this is what I'm going to do right here, and I'm going to make some deviations and do a few upgrades here and there, but we're going to kind of try to stick to the basic configuration of the M4A1 as it was originally introduced before we got into all the SOP mod stuff. Now, this is a Marine Corps tech manual. For those of you that don't know, is the Marine Corps is not a separate branch. The Marine Corps is part of the Department of the Navy. Now, I had one commenter come in and say that the Marine Corps was, it's a slightly different department within the Navy, but it's the men's department. Well, I'm retired Navy, 21 years, Chief Petty Officer. So what I'd like to point out here is even on this Marine Corps tech manual, you can see that the lettering here on Department of the Navy is much, much bigger than the lettering and font down here of the United States Marine Corps. And this is the Marine Corps' manual. Okay, so what exactly am I going to try to emulate or clone or retro here? And that's going to be based on this manual, December 2008. So let's take a look at what I'm going to put together. Okay, so the basic difference between an M4 carbine and an M4A1 is either burst or auto. Now, the original M4, M4A1, they came with standard government profile M4 barrels. Wasn't until later on that we got into SOCOM barrels, when they found that a lot of primarily special ops and special forces were trying to use these things that they weren't really designed to do, and that's to lay down suppressive fire. And when they were used like that, they were trying to use these carbines as machine guns. They were having problems with the barrel blowing out behind the front sight base here, the gas block. So later on, when they got into SOP mod, that's when they came out with the SOCOM barrel. And that's going to be the first thing that, M4A1, and you can see they're showing the same exact rifle except labeling here. So anyway, like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is deviate from is I'm going to use a SOCOM barrel, even though technically the original M4A1 did not come with a SOCOM barrel. But won't be able to tell once the handguard's on here. Okay, another reason I'm going with a basic model M4A1 is you start getting into the op mod, the block 1, block 1.5, and block 2 variants. There's no one particular rifle that you can point to and say, oh, that's it. That's the most common, that's the most prevalent setup. Each branch of the service, each unit, individual members, when you get into the SOP mod stuff, I mean, they're configuring their rifles a lot of different ways, and also depending on the mission, how they set up their rifles. So this is part of the reason I'm going with a basic M4A1 setup, is to get away from all that and just nail this thing down. So the first thing and one of the primary reasons also is cost. I do okay, but I'm not willing to spend the kind of money. So on the M4A1, they came with standard A2 compensators, generally. You get into the SOP mod world, and a lot of the SOP mod configurations use these 4 prongs. And I'm not spending anywhere near $169 when I can just put an A2 compensator on there for, you know, 8 or 10 or 12 bucks. So we're not doing the, that's, like I said, the reason I'm not doing the SOP mod stuff is just too rich for my blood. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're doing here is we're just going to go with a standard A2 type compensator. Like I said, I've already deviated and we're going to use a SOCOM barrel in case maybe someday I change my mind and want to upgrade the rifle and get into the SOP mod world. I'll probably run some type of optic, not the carry handle. And whatever I decide to run on top of this rifle, at that point, it's not going to be a SOP mod, it's going to be a PEAT mod. It's going to be a PEAT mod M4A1. Okay, so we talked about the compensator. The next area that I'm going to deviate from is I'm not going to be using a Knight's Armament RAS. Just too expensive for me. Not spending that kind of money. Probably what I'm going to use is a Midwest Industries two-piece drop-in. The Midwest Industries two-piece drop-in I've used on some other rifles. They come with steel pins back here that interlock with your GI barrel nut. So it's a good solid lockup. And from 10 feet away, I don't think you're going to be able to tell the difference. Okay, so we've deviated from the compensator. We'll be deviating a little bit from the RAS handguard, and we'll be using a SOCOM barrel. But there's going to be another deviation on the barrel, the SOCOM, and that's I don't do pin and welded. I never have, and I never will. It just kind of limits the options for me. Yeah, it's partly because of the ATS BS, but I don't want to pin and weld anything on here in case someday I decide to change the configuration of the rifle around. It's going to be a lot easier to change things around. Plus, you get a little bit better ballistic performance out of a 16 versus the correct 14.5-inch SOCOM barrel. Okay, so we're looking at the right side of the M4 again. And you can see here where my cursor is, it's not ambidextrous. Now, when you come down here and you look at the right side on the M4A1, you can see on this that they're showing an ambidextrous selector. So that's about it. I think it's time to take a look at this Brownells barrel and see what we think. Okay, so for now in this video, we're primarily talking about the upper for the M4A1 PEAT mod. And we'll be going probably with a Geisley trigger because none of that's happening. There's a lot of stuff online about rate of fire and whatever, but this is what the Marine Corps says. Now, once again, this is a standard M4 government profile barrel. I'm sure you can do quite a bit more with the SOCOM. All right, I said I was going to talk about the barrel. Another place that this manual, I couldn't find anywhere in accessories or anything for the basic stripped down M4A1. U.S. Marine Corps issue of December 2008. Nowhere did it show a side sling mount. So we're going to be putting that on here also. And this is the real deal. Every once in a while you'll see these, and I think it was Charlie's Clones. He wanted $100 for this assembled. That's what the sling actually riveted to the mount, and I'm like, nah, this ain't worth $100. I felt bad about spending $60 on this a few years ago. Okay, I think I already mentioned it. This is Brownells. Here's the marking on the barrel. It's kind of ugly. Cosmetically, there's barely a scratch on it, so that part of it was pretty nice. This is how it comes. You get your Delta ring assembly. You get your M4 cut round handguard cap. This is how it comes. This is not F-marked, but it is F-marked dimension. So use this with a flat top. All right, being Captain Obvious here, this is an M4 barrel, so obviously, you know, you got your M4 extension cuts. Okay, so I've shown this stuff in other videos, so I'm not going to actually do it, but this is a barrel straightness gauge that I got from Pacific Tool and Gauge. And this is their more expensive version. It's accurate to within 1/10,000th of an inch. That's what they claim the straightness is on this one. These are extension head spacing gauges. They not only check the head spacing, but this simulates your bolt lugs on a bolt. So if your barrel passes with these gauges, there's a very, very good chance that once you stick your actual bolt in there with regular head spacing gauges, you'll be fine. But it is a good idea to also use standard head spacing gauges when you're checking this barrel with the bolt that you plan on using. Okay, so this is the Go extension gauge. You can see that all the lugs are fully engaged. It's not a real snug fit. Most rifles I've tested, it's pretty snug, but it's not loose either. It's about right. So on the no-go gauge here, I could not get the simulated bolt lugs on this extension gauge. I couldn't even get them to start. So just based on these extension gauges, we have a good barrel chamber and extension relationship. Okay, so I'm not going to show every square inch of this barrel on the inside, but if you look at the crown here, it looks the same all the way around. We're on the front end of the barrel, the muzzle end. And if you look right in the center of the video, you can see the crown moving back and forth. And it's very uniform. It's done pretty well. So let's take a look inside. We'll see what the gas port looks like. Okay, so there's the gas port, and it's done pretty good. Very clean. And all of the rifling and the grooves look pretty good. We'll go down and take a look at the lands. Okay, I don't know how well this is showing up on my my phone. Like I said, I get a load of video on my computer, but kind of a pain in the butt. The lands all look uniform. They have a nice, smooth transition. Like I said, I'm not going to show you every single one of them, but they look pretty good. They're pretty even. And then the chamber looks pretty good. And here's the extension, some of the extension lugs. There was one thing when I got the barrel, and I don't know what this stuff was. At first I thought it was leftover oil from machining, and I thought maybe it was some type of preservative, and I'll see if I can find it where I didn't quite get it cleaned out. Okay, there's some of it right there. See that? Now this was super, super heavy when I first got the barrel, and it was everywhere. It was on the lands, it was on the grooves, and it has a brass, bronze, copper look to it. And when I first got the barrel, I thought, you know, something was wrong with the chrome lining, like the barrel material was showing through. And I don't know what it was, but it took a lot of cleaning and scrubbing to get it out. And so I got to clean this barrel up some more, but I'll explain a little bit about what I had to do to get that stuff out of there, whatever it was. Okay, so back to the barrel on the inside. That little bit of remnant I showed you, that was after, I mean, cleaning this thing for probably a good 15, 20 minutes. I tried JB paste, I tried hops, I tried some Remington bore cleaner. I used the 22 cal, I scrubbed it with that. And then finally what ended up doing the trick was I went to a 30 cal brush, using a 30 cal brush and some old sweet 762 solvent. This has ammonia in it and does a good job of breaking down copper. So whatever was inside this barrel was either some type of copper or brass, bronze. I think that maybe part of the barrel manufacture process, whoever made this barrel for Brownells, used something in there to maybe hand lap the chrome lining, but it really smeared and left over a lot of brass. And what I showed you on the borescope, that's just a very, very tiny bit of amount that's left over. I'm going to have to clean this a few more times. But other than that, it turned out once I got things cleaned up, the barrel, the inside was good. There was nothing wrong with it. It's a pretty good finish, probably about as good as I usually see, except for my criterions. My criterions are almost always perfect. But anyway, yeah, so if you get a Brownells SOCOM barrel, or probably any barrel from them, and you don't have a borescope, I would say clean it again, and just absolutely make sure you get whatever is going on inside that barrel out of there. But the barrel itself was okay. All right, well, that's today's firearms extravaganza. Future plans for the M4A1 Pete mod. Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.